Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. A formal agreement has been reached between Goldfields and the National Union of Mine Workers on the implementation of a new operating model at the South Deep Gold Mine. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer tells us more. Welcome, Martin.
Thanks, Shannon.
Now, can you tell us more about this agreement? Why is it significant?
Well, you know, the holy grail has been FULCO. FULCO is full calendar operations. We've never been able to achieve that in South Africa, and it's the norm everywhere else in the mining world. People won't work 24 hours a day on our mines, and it's all a matter of structuring the shifts. So what has happened now, there's the 4x4 shift, the 4x4 idea. So you work 4 days on, 4 days off for 12 hours. And then there's back-to-back 12 hours. You work 4 nights on, 4 nights off, which means that there is 24-hour operation on these mines, and the employer gets an extra 5 hours a day, and workers get an additional days off, I think averaging about 50 more days off. So, and there are 400 additional people going to be employed there. So it's a real win-win situation, because this is a fantastic mine. I mean, South Deep.
Why is it that people don't want to work when so many are unemployed?
Well, this whole idea of FULCO has been an anathema to people who have been accustomed to living at mine face for long periods of time. It's a legacy issue. You know, if you're going to live in a hostel right on the mine, you want a break. And that has been the sort of tradition. And they would just dig there, you know, the workers would say, look, no, this is not on, because, you know, we've got to have our time off here. So they never actually got round to clinching a deal on FULCO. But now with this highly mechanized mine, they've actually managed to do that. You know, I hope that it actually happens, because these days deals fall apart, it seems. But while we've been watching Goldfields at KDC, and there's been a sort of a management staring down the workers, and the workers staring down management, and then workers leaving the hostel and getting on a hill and saying, we're going to stay here until you pay us, there seems to have been an intractable situation that wasn't being solved and isn't being solved. Whereas down the road, closer to Joburg here, South Deep, this wonderful resource, they've managed to clinch a momentous deal. They've had to pay out about 170 million for their troubles to work out all the things they owe to affected parties and settle it in advance. But they've got a clean sheet, you know, to now move forward and to have full calendar operations.
What is the upshot for South Deep? You've mentioned it is costing 170 million rand.
Well, you know, it's a totally new operating model which they've been looking for, which they need. It is a deep mine, but it's a very rich mine. It's not like the normal mine where you've got to sort of scratch around on your tummy, you know, to try and get some gold out of there, because the narrow vein ore bodies are so difficult to mine. You know, this mine, the ore bodies are so big, they're taller than the ceiling here, and you could take a London bus in and even put a roof rack on top of the bus, and it would still fit into these ore bodies. They're huge. So it's not what we're used to. And so it's a mixture of having mechanization, long life, because it's going to be very strategic. I think it's going to employ at a rate, it's going to produce at a rate of 700,000 ounces of gold a year until 2065.
Wow.
You know, it'll be the last mine standing. When we turn off the lights at OR Tambo, that mine will still be operating out on the west there.
Now, how will the bonus scheme work under this agreement?
Yeah, the details of the bonus scheme, I'm going to have to suddenly look up here, because it seems like they uncapped. You know, the existing bonus schemes for underground will be replaced by new uncapped productivity-linked bonuses. Uncapped.
That's a lot.
Because when I went down there in 2010, I thought I'd chat to some of the drill rig operators, because you don't have rock drill operators, you know, which we used to. These guys with the tough arms that drill into the hard rock, and who set off this spate of strikes all over the place demanding more money. The rock drill operator said, we must be paid more, and that set off this whole set of... You have drill rig operators.
That's how big it is.
Yeah, so it's a big bulk machine that he's driving. He operates a massive big machine. And I whispered into the one guy's ear in 2010, you know, how much do you take home, by the way? And he said, on a good month, 50,000 rand. So he was a high-performing drill rig operator. But now if this is uncapped, you know, the potential here, the sky's the limit. So you could get tremendous productivity levels. They're hoping for world-class productivity levels. They're hoping to stimulate people through this bonus system to now reach these world benchmarks, which have been unattainable for us up to now. But this is what that mine needs. It needs round-the-clock effort using bulk mining techniques for the really, which is so rare in South Africa, to turn this. It's almost an Aladdin's cave of gold, to account. And it's got a long life, When I'm saying 2065, I'm sure by that time they'll have found more big ore bodies because there's still a lot of exploration to be done.
It really doesn't seem so bad then, working 4 days on, 4 days off, if you have the potential to bring home 50,000 Rand a month.
Sure. I mean, not everybody's a drill rig operator.
Of course,
but, you might have a career path, where you start at low level. And this is also the sort of discussion that's going on now as we enter this new era. People are getting career paths. They know that they can move up in the world and perhaps even end up as a CEO. Why must I stay underground drilling? I can go further. And there's also going to be a lot of discussion on the accommodation that's provided. And it seems as though the National Union of Mine Workers, which has reached this deal with Goldfields, plus the UASA union, which is small, they're going to continue, I think, for some time in discussions as to how they can improve health and wellness, how they can improve accommodation, and also things like, how can they make underground transportation slicker? This is an opportunity to bring underground transportation and all the methods you use beyond the 21st century, make it futuristic.
Now, the agreement shows that there is room for constructive collaboration in South African trade unions and labour relations. Could this affect the current disputes taking place in the industry?
Well, I think it's going to be something that's held up as a model. Here you've got the Chamber of Mines negotiating on the one side here, but you've got Goldfields with a wonderful asset actually doing a separate negotiation, because this is a very different mine. And you start wondering, what is going to be the future of these negotiations? We've been saying, okay, we must strive for centralized bargaining. But I'm just wondering, are they going to get that right? Because you can see that the mentality of the people at the moment is not centralized. It's become very individualistic. And one wonders, is the centralized model going to hold? Is the Chamber of Mines going to be able to hold everything together? It looks like a new future to me.
Perhaps they should just see how they need to do it on an individual basis then. Centralized when it needs to be and uncentralized when it doesn't.
Yeah, so decentralization is where all the trouble started. The platinum operations are decentralized, and we saw the risk there. But it didn't stop people going on strike on the mines where there were centralized deals. And an example is Goldfields. If you go to their KDC complex, which the KDC says the old Kloof Driefontein complex, it's the new name for that. Those are quite valuable mines. At one stage Driefontein was the flagship for the country virtually. And you can see that management is intractable there. They're saying, we have got an agreement with you. We're not going to budge until June 2013. And workers are saying, well, we're not going to budge either. And they've moved out of the hostel. They're sitting on the hill there. Doesn't look too good at all. Yet, in the same company, you can have them doing a very successful deal with a very big union, National Union of Mine Workers. Now, the normal, a mine the size of South Deep should employ about 10,000 people plus. I mean, that's what we're used to, these big mines employing a lot of people. But they into the 4,000, 4,500 level, 4,500 and beyond, that's the sort of level of employment there. So, it's less than half of what a conventional mine would be, but it's machine mediated. The guys have got these big rigs, so they can really do a lot of work with the help of mechanization, which these other mines have difficulty in trying to achieve because the space is so tiny. And it might need to leap beyond mechanization into straight automation there.
Well, thank you very much, Martin.
It's a great pleasure, Shannon.
That's the show for today. Join us again next time for more news and insights into what's happening in the mining world.